Airbnb is going to crash the real estate market nationwide. Or is it? This is the Market Brew. Hi everyone, Mike Tilford here. If you spend any amount of time online lately, you may have seen talk about Airbnb and how a looming influx of short-term rentals are going to be listed for sale, crashing the real estate market throughout the country. Now this sounds a whole lot like the sky is falling, but is there any truth to these claims? This all began from a Twitter user named Nick Gurley, who tweeted a seemingly thorough analysis of Airbnb revenue collapse nationwide. He goes on to show just how many Airbnb rentals there really are, the number of rentals compared to active listings, and how certain hotspots have seen drastic drops in Airbnb revenue. Nick claims that Airbnb revenue across the nation has dropped drastically, and a real estate crash is imminent. Now, to be fair, a lot of people are questioning the validity of the data that Nick offers up, but for the sake of argument here, let's assume that his data is accurate. Nick claims that in many areas of the country, revenue from Airbnb has dropped as much as 50%. For homeowners that finance their Airbnb properties and rely on the income to pay their mortgages, this definitely could be an issue. In areas with an oversupply of short-term rentals, the income per rental will come down, and this will affect a number of owners. He also claims that in certain areas, Airbnb rentals exceed the number of homes for sale in the market, which is true and easy to see with publicly available data. So Nick thinks that due to the drop in revenue, many Airbnb owners are going to sell their homes, thus flooding the marketplace and causing a real estate crash nationwide. Now this I don't really buy into. First of all, Airbnb properties are a finite supply. Once they are sold, the total number goes down. Also, the homes for sale are constantly being restocked. Once they are sold, another listing takes its place. Combine this with historically low inventory throughout the country, a huge seller's market with strong buyer demand, and very low days on market for many areas. This is not really a recipe for a market crash. Okay, I'll grant that Airbnb could crash certain markets within certain cities, but I fail to see how it's going to crash the entire real estate market as a whole. So let's get into some local details because honestly, Nick talks about Tennessee, Arizona, and Texas as these big hotspots, and I mean, who really cares about those states? I mean, I live in California, I live in the Conejo Valley, that's what I'm interested in. I mean, what happens to the real estate market in Phoenix is not going to affect values around this area. So here I am, I live in Simi Valley, and I love living here, but let's be honest, nobody is coming here on vacation. So it may not be much of a surprise that short-term vacation rentals in Simi Valley aren't really a huge thing here. So as of making this video, there were 97 closed sales in the city of Simi Valley over the past 30 days. As for current active listings, there are only 79. So with the current inventory, there isn't even a month's supply of homes for sale. And no, June wasn't a big month for real estate. I mean, over the prior 3 months, there were 303 closed sales within the city of Simi Valley. So if anything, June was a bit below average. According to site AirDNA, a tracker for vacation rental data, there are currently 120 Airbnb and Vrbo rentals within the city of Simi Valley. So think about this. If every single one of these rental properties was to go up for sale today, this would only account for like a little over a 1 month supply of sales within the city. I mean, hardly enough to cause a crash, right? I mean, I would be doubtful if that would even affect values very much. On top of that, this would be like a one-time influx of properties that in a month or two would be completely gone and would be back to square one. So Simi appears to be pretty safe from the Airbnb crash, but what about the rest of Conejo Valley? I mean, let's look at Thousand Oaks, the other major city, and we see that there are currently 67 homes for sale, with 72 sales in the last 30 days. As for rentals, there are currently about 150, or about a 2.5 month supply. Still not enough to cause a crash, maybe a slight hiccup if anything in the short term. Alright, so it looks like Conejo Valley in general is pretty safe from an Airbnb crash, so we don't have to worry about that. So who can this really affect near Conejo Valley? I mean, people don't really vacation here, so I guess that makes us safe, but what about those areas that people do vacation, like at the beach? So let's take a look at Oxnard, because it's such a large city, and there are over 400 rentals in Oxnard. But if you look at this map, you may notice something. Maybe a little bit of a trend here. There sure are a lot of purple dots over there by the Pacific Ocean. So I guess it's safe to say that the vast majority of rentals in Oxnard are beach homes. So there are currently 62 homes for sale in the beach area of Oxnard, with only 21 sales over the prior 30 days. Okay, well, this is interesting. There are currently about 3 months of housing inventory on the market at the beach. And even, let's say, half of the Airbnbs were to go on the market, that would be a huge influence on that particular community. So adding around 200 homes for sale to the current 62, when they're only selling about 21 a month, that would definitely have an influence on values and on the marketplace as a whole. But as I said, it would be very localized and only affecting the beach community. Values within the remainder of Oxnard would likely be unaffected. So yeah, if you own an Airbnb at Oxnard Beach or any kind of property at Oxnard Beach, maybe pay attention to what's going on here because this could affect you. So what's my take on this analysis? I think that Nick is partially right, but missing the bigger picture here. I mean, there may be areas in the US where Airbnb can cause a local crash in certain areas of the market. But honestly, I feel like these so-called crashes would be rather short-lived due to the rest of the market factors. I mean, even if every Airbnb in the country was put up for sale today, the majority of areas would not really be affected, or they would barely feel any effect from this influx of properties for sale. So that's my take on the current Airbnb crisis. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'll see you next time, and as always, I'm never too busy for your referrals.